Good afternoon. It is Saturday at 4 o'clock, so it must be time for the senior moment. This is Connie Clark with Home Helpers, and I'd like to welcome you. And I have a very, very special person here in the studio with me today, Dan Brownell. He's got so much information. I just want to learn everything I can. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you. Good to be here, Connie.
Dan is the expert in home accessibility. And Dan, please tell us first what that is and what makes you the expert. Why should people believe what you say?
Well, Connie, first off, I've been in this area. I'm a good old hometowner from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Been here all my life, and my grandfather was the first owner of the first trading post here in Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, I tell lots of people that. They don't believe me, but I do. I tell people that.
For one thing, I'm entrenched. So I love the people of Coeur d'Alene in this community, and I like to serve them. I have worked as a rehabilitation consultant in North Idaho, first helping to start transitional employment services for the handicapped years ago, TESH, and then I transitioned into working for the State of Idaho Industrial Commission, rehabilitating severely injured workers. And so I've been in the field of rehabilitation for about 40 years now, a little over 40 years. And then my background is myself. I was injured years ago and through a hunting accident, was put in a wheelchair. So I've spent my fair share, about 3 years in a wheelchair years ago. And so I have a passion for helping people with mobility access.
You've been there.
Yes. And I retired from the State Industrial Commission as a rehabilitation consultant about 2.5 years ago, and I saw this need in the community for a very qualified person in evaluating home and industry accessibility. So I went ahead and got a certification. It's called the Certified Environmental Access Consultant.
What does that mean?
Northwest. That means that basically I've studied a lot and worked a lot in the whole accessibility arena, everything from universal design to Americans with Disability Act design, and put in a lot of time and effort in that to be hopefully the best expert in the Northwest around. I'm the only one doing this in the Northwest that I know of.
Okay. So basically what you do is you come into somebody's home.
Yes.
And if someone is in a wheelchair, a walker, whatever, you help them determine what you can modify in the house so they can stay there?
Yes. Stay safely and accomplish all of their activities of daily living is what we call it. Everything from getting out of bed first thing in the morning to all their showering and eating and mobility and making it to the doctor's appointments, whatever that is. And it would be anybody with any kind of physical limitation. And sometimes it's mental too. We have a lot of dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that, so we have to be setting up an environment that's safe for them, alert systems and so on.
If we had, let's say for example, we had somebody who is in a wheelchair.
Yes.
Okay. And you were going to make modifications to their home so that they could continue to live there. Let's draw a picture in our mind. We pull up to the house. What are we going to see as soon as we pull up to a house?
Well, first off is, I like to role play with that individual.
Okay.
So what we'll do is I would start with, of course, getting back into the person's medical history and their mobility history.
Okay.
And where they're at right now, so I can really understand what that person's capabilities are.
So you're going to ask a whole lot of questions.
A whole lot of questions in an interview. A lot of that is confidential. I keep it confidential. I work a lot through family members or people that are close to them to verify what kind of mobility they have and communication skills and so on. I rely a lot on the family members. and the people around them, because they verify more than even what's in the medical records.
And you're
So
going to ask them to demonstrate.
Yes, and what I do is I like to role play with them. So what I do is I go, let's say from what you're talking about, we drive up in the car.
Okay.
And we start to get out of the car. Well, I'm right there watching how they get in and out of the car, what kind of device that they get into, how safe they are, what kind of, I call it the 3-point hitch system.
Okay.
So preventing falls. In other words, you need to have 3 points of your limbs connected so that you're not apt to fall. So I watch their stability and safety in their range of motion and ability to grasp and handle things and so on.
Okay.
So there we are. We're getting out of the car. We're getting into a wheelchair. And that transfer is very, very important. I'll watch how they transfer and if it's safe and how they transfer. There's a thing that's called decubitus ulcers. I'm sure you're real familiar with that. Bed sores.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And people that don't transfer properly can get injured and open up a sore, and that's one of the number one killers of people with that have to be in wheelchairs and bedridden and so on. So I'm watching a lot for all of their ways of mobilizing there.
Okay.
And then we get into the chair, let's say, and then now the real, literally, rubber's on the road. And what obstacles do we have?
How do you get in the house?
How do you get into the house? What kind of assistance do you need? Are there lifts available? What kind of a ramp is going into the house? The ramps are very, very important to be built properly, because if you tilt them too much, you're going to have problems with the person backsliding, so to speak, or the person that's pushing them backsliding, or accidents could happen.
And
So
we get
it's-
ice and snow here.
Oh, boy, do we. So that
So that's-
surface is real important.
Okay.
I like to cover any kind of ramps that we install or build.
Okay.
And most of the garages, the new garages, are double-car garages. So they work great for installing a ramp system in them with one car.
Okay.
And they're covered and great access. And then the next thing is looking at all the doors and hallways,
Okay.
making sure that the doors, of course, are wide enough, but also that they can open properly. There's a nice device called an offset hinge that can add 2 to 3 inches to a door real easily by setting the door back and in.
So you wouldn't
Extra
have to
3K.
cut a new hole or nothing like that. You just
Yes.
add the hinge, because a lot of times the door width itself is wide enough, but with the door sitting there, that
That's
adds an
right.
inch or so more, and you can't get past that.
That's right.
And a lot of people end up taking the doors off.
Well,
you know.
And if we can get, I like to have about a 32-inch door opening for most chairs, and we can accommodate a lot of that by doing the offset hinges and then doing some different things with the trim and so on.
Okay.
But sometimes doors need replaced, and unfortunately, some of the older homes were made with pretty small doorways and hallways and so on. So opening it up is something that is recommended.
Okay.
Then you look at everything from the flooring, the mobility and stability of the flooring. If it's real thick plush carpet, that's real difficult.
Yeah,
to
you
get
can't
around
get a
in.
chair through that.
Yes. Hmm. And then the next one that I like to look at is the bedroom. And so we'll go in and do some role playing in the bedroom, how we can get around the bed, how
Okay.
we get in and out of beds. Sometimes the beds just need to be lifted up or put down a little bit. That can be done with some blocking and some special modifications there. And then sometimes people need an extra bar or post or something to help them get up and sit up out of bed. And as you know, Connie, being in the business that you are, there's some methods to the rollover and putting your feet down first.
Relearning how to do that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's nice to, a lot of times I'll come alongside an OT or PT, or I've been with enough of them, I've seen a lot of the methods.
And it's occupational therapist
Yes.
and physical therapist. Okay.
Yes. So we'll look at how they're sleeping at night, how safe it is, window access if there was a fire for safety, and so on.
Okay.
And how they dress and dress themselves and get ready in the morning. And then the next area is, of course, the bathroom. And in the bathroom, the more openness we can have, the better. It's very, very popular now to go in and do a remodel with a roll-in shower.
Mm-hmm.
And these can be done either by a module that's put in place, or it can be done with a new tile. Pull out the bathtub and put a new tile in, recess the floor a little bit and reinforce the floor, and then pour it so that the floor is even with.
So they can just bring the wheelchair right into the shower.
Very nicely, yes. And those are real popular. They actually, if they're done right, really add value to the home. That's a little side thing I'd like to say is that when a home is made accessible, they're more valuable as a home. You don't have to have it looking like it's some kind of new institutional setting.
Yeah.
And some of the bars now are beautiful. They're you can get them in just about any color, and some of them look like towel racks now, only they're a lot stronger, and they work really good. And most of the bathrooms, I have lots of pictures of finished bathrooms, turn out gorgeous, really nice with tiling. Then you open up everything from the access to the toilet and the sink.
Yeah, I was just thinking the sink. How how would you do that? So okay, all right.
Pedestal sinks are real popular. Pedestal sinks with a nice closet on the side for putting things
All the things that were underneath.
Yes, so that you can roll up right to it and be there and serve you. And then a nice tilted mirror, tilted down for the person. All those are nice things to have. I do highly recommend if they are in a wheelchair, to get another chair. It's called a shower chair that rolls, so that you could come right from your bed into your shower chair and utilize the bathroom, and then wheel right into the shower. And those new shower chairs, you can get them at Soper's Mobility. Go right into the shower and are plastic, and you don't have to
Worry about moving parts and things like that.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And they drain well and usually have a cutout in the bottom so that you can use them for multi-purpose things. So there we go. And the bathroom is probably the most important part, because that's where people get injured the most in the home. It's interesting how people, as we age, we're kind of stubborn and we want to stand up in our showers, and men like to stand up at the urinal and the toilet, but as we age, it's not very safe to do that.
It's not that safe, yeah.
As you know, blood pressure changes when you're taking a shower and using the bathroom, so a lot of people faint in the bathroom, and there's where the injuries happen the most.
Okay.
So that's important. And then it's on to the kitchen and the living room. And in the kitchen, there's some real neat things that can be done now with cabinetry, so that you can just
wheel under the cabinet and
wheel into the cabinets. And there's some real nice new attachments that you can put even in the upper cabinets that have a handle at the bottom, and the whole mechanism will come down to you so that the plates, and it's on hydraulics, and the plates and everything will come right down in front of you.
Oh, wow.
So there's, the area of assistive and adaptive technology has come a long, long way in the last even just 10 years. If there's a will and a way and a need, the technology is there now. I used to think we'd have to reinvent a lot of stuff, but it's heavily into the market of helping.
And I can
Disability.
see that probably coming because with us baby boomers coming along, we're demanding that these things happen.
I don't know what it is, but there was a real shift change in between the new baby boomers and the people, the post World War II era. Remember our parents, how if they saw a cane or a wheelchair or any of these assistive devices, they just didn't want anything to do with it.
Right, right.
And I'll never forget putting my grandmother in her wheelchair for the first time, and she thought, if I sit in that, I'm going to die 2 weeks later or something.
Oh my!
It was
Yeah.
really traumatic. But nowadays, I'll tell you, if there's a person that wants something adapted, they really go for it. They expect that new technology to be there.
You were speaking of new technology. You were talking about some of the environmental things that you can do. I would imagine. I mean, like for example, in my house, the thermostat
Yes,
is up high.
yes.
Well, if I couldn't see or I couldn't reach that, how would I change the temperature in the home? And I'm sure there's things out now that can assist with that, correct?
I'm glad you brought that up because there is a lot of technology in that arena. I think people out there maybe heard about the famous Bill Gates home and how he changed. You would walk through a door and the whole environment would change based on what your preferences were. He had digital pictures on the wall, and if he found out that you liked pictures related to scenery, they would change to meet your needs, so to speak. Well, literally, that's how we can control our homes now, too. There's technology out there that is voice activated, and that's come a long ways to where, well, remember the television advertisements about the clappers?
Yeah,
Just a little, and you could turn on the lights or
Right.
whatever. Well, that's refined a little bit more to say lights on, lights off. Okay, voice based on your voice command. Heat up, heat down. Television on, television off.
And those are things you can put in people's homes.
Easily, yes.
Wow.
There's modules out there for doing all of that, and they're coming on the market very strong now. So
Unbelievable.
they're fun gadgets. They're fun.
I bet they are.
There's a chair out that actually has a computer built into it that you can either push button it or you can talk to it or you can. In some cases, there are people that can't communicate well, so they have a puff and suck system, like a straw.
Oh, I've seen that on TV.
Yes. And so the technology is really fascinating, and it's
So
fun
there-
to be part of that.
So there's no reason you can't stay at home, no matter
There's no
what
reason.
your
Well,
situation.
There's the one that is probably the most crucial arena is the total safety of the person for the falls. There's another nice topic is the fact that you remember and are aware of the lifeline systems that you can wear around your neck, that push button system. Well, they were having some challenges with that in that people would fall, or they'd pass out, and then they weren't able to touch the button.
Well, I know they have it so
So-
that if they fall, it sends a signal. Because
Now there's
We have those, yeah.
what's called the new Wii technology that just came out in the last year, and I've had a lot of fun with that one because people are safer than ever with that Wii technology. It's basically, when I say Wii technology, yes, it's just like the game Wii, W-I. And you can feel it feels the
movement.
motion and the movement. You can adjust it so when the person falls and they're on the ground, it will send the signal then.
amazing.
It-
I need to take a break, but oh my gosh, every time I talk to you, I find out so much neat stuff. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue to talk about this environmental things that you can put in your home. We'll be right back. Neat. Yeah, I have those. I haven't.
the Wii.
The things they can wear, the
Yeah.
signals they follow.
Yeah, some new models of those that are out now too. There's one that's manufactured right in Coeur d'Alene here.
Really? Oh, yeah, I've seen that one.
That lady. I'm not so sure about it, but it's kind of a neat thing. But
What other kinds of environmental, I mean, say it's my grandma coming in. You were talking about that you can watch them?
yes, let's get into that as the next subject, because that safety in watching them is very, very advanced now.
Okay.
You can keep track of your Alzheimer's dad, video surveillance types of things that are,
Okay.
and door monitors that will make a noise in your room when they open and close,
Okay.
and even to the point of
And bed alarms and
bed
things like
alarms
that, and
and
chair
things like
alarms.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, and wedding alarms.
Okay.
You've
Right.
probably seen those too.
Right.
I want to kind of wrap it up. The last thing when we do, I do want to say, where can you get all this stuff
Okay.
done?
I will.
Who's gonna, what are the steps to go through all this?
Well, we've got another
Okay.
18, 19-minute segment,
Okay.
and then we'll have one more after that. So the last segment,
Okay, good.
we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
How's that?
let's
It'll
do the rubber on the road there.
Okay.
Good deal.
All right.
Mhm.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Senior Moment. This is Connie Clark with Home Helpers, and I've got Dan Brownell here in the studio with me, and we're talking about home accessibility and different modifications you can do to your home to make it safe for someone who has some sort of physical limitations. And Dan provides this service where he goes into the home and does an evaluation on the home and of the person to find out what kinds of things can be put in there so that they can stay safe. And during the break, we were talking about persons with dementia and some of those special issues that go along with that, in that you don't want them to wander sometimes, or even someone who is bedridden if they fall out of bed or that sort of thing. What kind of things are out there, and watching that person? So what kind of things are out there now? Because this is really interesting.
Well, we just call it switch system technology. In other words, if there's a place where you can add a motion sensor or switch or anything like that, that will go and switch into a communication device, those are available out there now. It's just absolutely amazing.
Well, what would you use something like that for? Explain that.
To keep someone safe. Let's talk about, let's say, in bed.
Okay.
Of course, there's monitors we all know about, baby monitors.
Right.
Well, you can do that same thing, only 24 hours a day, and at night. There's monitors for the PAP machines and the breathing machines, and of course you can get a monitor for even if somebody's wetting their bed or trying to get out of bed. And
so it's a wetness alarm.
Wetness alarm.
Okay.
Specialty switch systems. It's what it really gets down to. And then those are plugged into what's called a T3 system, which is a communication system, centralized. And then I have to get a big applaud to the new technology that's called an iPad. And since the iPad has come out, and especially that new version, you can go into apps on your iPad, and every week there's a new application for safety and monitoring, and they're just coming on really strong. The state Idaho Assistive Technology Project, we are giving classes in those applications for the less abled.
Wow.
And they're centered around those new iPad applications, the Apple software and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And so it isn't as if we have to go out and buy real fancy monitoring systems or anything. We just need to buy the right app in the switch systems. And of course the switch systems can also mean cameras. So we can attach cameras anywhere nowadays. And you know how small and how technologically advanced they are. They can even come with some motion sensors that will notify you on your iPhone or iPad to what that person is doing. where they're at in the home and whether a door was opened or closed, if they turned up the heat too much, if the stove is working or not. It goes on and on to just be able to put in a totally controllable environment so that a loved one can watch them and see them, what's going on. Of course, what goes along with the dementia and everything else is the communication system with that person. And there are speakers and monitors that can be installed to where that person can communicate without even having to use a phone. They can just tap into a speaker system within the room.
So like even if they're bedridden, there could be something there they could just touch a button.
Absolutely. Or not even the person requiring a button. You can just interface to where you can say, "Hello, Dad," and it comes out on a speaker in their room. And
Wow.
we'll be talking. It's fascinating. It's really quite a neat arena to know how we can keep our elderly and handicapped people more safe in their environment.
And, you know, it's, forgive me for saying this, but, you know, you would think that you could get that type of systems in a big city somewhere. But up here in North Idaho, we can get those kinds of things here too.
Absolutely.
Which I think is so cool.
It's really cool. With new technology, and I there again, I got to applaud the iPad or Apple. If Mr. Apple, what was his name, was still here and in this room, I'd be hugging him because that is such a great application. And the software inventors out there, especially in the disability arena, are just going to it. I was in Boise a few weeks ago, and there were 3 application designers alone in Boise, Idaho, for the disabled.
Wow.
And we had them as guest speakers, and we shared with them from the state assistive tech board what we saw as a need, and they're already working on applications.
That's just amazing. Well, and I think part of the wow factor of being able to have that here is we have someone here who knows all about that stuff and can put that in, and that's you.
Well, I'm going to have to back off on a little bit on that one. I'm not a real computer techie person.
But you know it's out there.
You know what? There is a local guy that I have to applaud so much. His name's Mike Mann, and he's the local assistive and adaptive technology guru when it comes to computer applications. He consults with school districts and helps me with the home modifications in those arenas. I know what can be done, but when it comes to doing all that programming stuff, I need some help there. So
totally amazing. So you go in and you find that someone needs all of these services. Then what you do is you make recommendations.
Yes, that is probably one of the biggest keys to having a consultation done and written up. I take for an evaluation, of course, I get all the medical and the background information on the individual. I do pretty extensive interview with them, range of motion, and do all of the role playing and verify the functioning of the individual. And then that's all written up in a report and given to the physician usually, and I like them to sign off on it so that they know. A lot of times they have to sign off before anything is authorized, be it a wheelchair, as you know, or any kind of device, because there has to be under our rules of insurance and public medical and so on, there has to be a medical necessity or a safety necessity associated with it. So what I'll do is get that signed by the doctor and walk that. Literally, I walk those around and explain to the reports, explain to the doctor or the OT or PT, and get their input on it, and get that signed off, and then it's all ready to go into insurance.
Okay.
or some type of a public
And there's a
necessity.
lot of veterans benefits.
Yes.
They have to get, what is it, a scholarship or something like
Well, they
that?
call them grants.
A grant,
For
okay.
veterans. It's real interesting. I'm so glad you brought that subject up because there's a lot of the veterans that are coming home now. I had a case here last year where a veteran had come home with no legs,
Mm-hmm.
and he was sent home from the Veterans Hospital, but he didn't have a plan for accessibility in his home. That had to be written up at a later date in the form of like a grant,
Uh-huh.
with a full report on why he needed all of that.
All these things done.
Yes, but he was sent home without that being accomplished. So thanks to the great people in North Idaho, they donate wheelchairs and donate things. We were able to get him a chair that day, a power chair that day, and then we literally came in and sawed out an opening so he could get into his bathroom. His wife was changing his diapers prior to that.
Aww.
Yeah, there's some real tear-jerking stories out there about people going home without. A lot of us go home after our surgeries, and here we have a staircase to look at to get.
That's where the bedroom is. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of homes were, back years ago, we all had those dreams of those big, massive homes. And,
With all the bedrooms upstairs and the
yes.
washer and dryer down in the basement. And
Yes. And now, of course, the most popular homes are the one-level ranchers that are accessible, and boy, do they sell now. too.
Absolutely. One of the other things you had mentioned it only very briefly in our discussion is the Assistive Technology Project.
Oh, yes.
What is that?
I want to just, a brief history there is that when the Americans with Disabilities Act was put out years and years ago, with all the mandates publicly and to make public accessibility and so on, what went along with that was some funding to back it up to help people and industry with the technology to go along with that and the experts. So they developed what was called the assistive technology projects in most of the states in the country. We happen to have in Idaho, I think, one of the greatest projects. It's called the Idaho Assistive Technology Project. You can Google that and under AT, the letters AT, number 4.
The number 4.
And then all, ALL. And you will be so surprised at all of the information that's on there. Everything from, of course, the devices, but recommendations of the experts in the area, funding sources, manuals. I just got through helping to design a manual for home modification for accessibility with the University of Idaho and the Assistive Tech Project, and that manual is available on that site. And some training courses, ongoing training courses. We, as a state board, decided to make sure that you could get it on like an Apple application, and you can look up the different trainings that are on there, and it's based on your time, not anybody else's time. And you can just download one of those and see an application on how to
Use
set up
whatever.
Yeah.
And I've seen on there where they have assistive devices and things. Someone may have something somewhere and they no longer need it.
Yes, we
And
do.
they'll put you together with that person, right?
That's exactly right. There's a recycling program that's on there, too, for people that need devices and are maybe caught in between insurance and actually getting it in their hands. And so there's everything from vans to canes on there.
Right.
But there's also, I want to put another plug in here, and that is we have a local assistive technology center in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, that is available. Mike Mann, that I mentioned earlier, he mans that, and you can go and see him and get a consult and try out some of the equipment. Everything from hearing devices to sight, assistance devices to some of those Apple applications I was talking about, all sorts of software, all sorts of. And Mike will call me if it's a home evaluation.
And
so
I
we
remember,
have quite a network put
I remember
together.
something about someone telling me that there was even software available there. For example, I have a friend who has terrible arthritis, and she's writing a book.
Yes.
She can't type,
Yes.
but the software is there that she can speak into it, and it's typing for her. So, and they had stuff like that you could try out. And
Absolutely, and that's come down in price. Even if you want to get some, there is actually a free application on the App Store now. I have that on my iPad now, and
but they have all kinds of things like that you can check out and
Yes.
try and all of that.
Yeah.
One of the things you had also mentioned earlier when we were talking was that you've been doing a lot of work with businesses,
Yes.
with some of the new ADA.
Yes, there's the ADA put into effect. It was started in 2010, but the act is actually just being implemented more so now on some more accessibility in the public access arena. One of the big ones that really stands out right now is that swimming pools in motels, hotels, public
Public type places.
recreation places and that sort of thing are now mandated to have lifts that will pick up a person in from a wheelchair and help them get into a pool.
Really?
And that's a mandate now. And the interesting thing about the ADA is that that part and some others was put under the Division of Justice. So there's a lot of meat behind it now. So a lot of the businesses, I'm doing a lot of consultations for like health clubs and I just got through doing 3 in Spokane for health clubs that are trying to get accessibility all fulfilled for the ADA. So what's interesting is when they start with that, then they're of course going to need a ramp to the pool. They're going to need ramps in the rest of the facility, and some of those places have a lot of stairs, so a lot of them are having to do an overhaul
Oh my
of their
goodness.
buildings.
Yeah, it's one thing to think, okay, well, I just need a piece of equipment,
Yes.
because I've seen those in pools, a piece
Yes.
of equipment to help lift someone from a chair, but you don't think of all the other things that go along with that.
Well,
know?
I just got through working on a health club in Spokane where the pool had stairs all around it to go down into the pool, and so we had to do a ramp system down to it too. So, and a few other things. So yes, with business, and then I have to really say there's really neat things happening in the arena of employment. The baby boomers, again, are necessitating and needing and wanting more ergonomics in the workplace. So I've been doing a lot of consultation on proper seating and ergonomics of reaching and using the right tools. And what's so interesting to me is that nowadays you can hardly get in a new car and it isn't ergonomically designed, or pick up a tool, a production tool, or the home maintenance tools and things like that. They're ergonomic, and people want that now. So the whole arena, people are demanding it, and it's slowly but surely just going that way naturally.
Well, it just amazes me. Well, we need to take a break, but I love talking to you. We'll be right back. We're going to take a break. I was going to say something about going into soapers and all the stuff that's in there.
Oh, yeah,
and that's
yeah.
only the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, really. And there's so many more manuals coming out. I mean, you can get on the internet and all the devices. One interesting thing, Connie, is that when I first started being involved back 25 years ago in assistive and adaptive technology, we thought that program that I told you about, when the ADA first came out with the assistive device, we thought all the money was going to have to go for R&D, research and development. But instead, we found out that the R&D was coming naturally. We haven't had to pay hardly a dime for that. It's what's called the systems change to get those devices from here the technology is here into the hands of the individuals, but what system is there to help them get those devices?
Right.
Especially the funding systems.
Right.
I mean, as you know, it's only been a few years since Medicaid has approved an adaptation on a toilet. They had the toilet rings and things and stuff like that, but to now you can get one that's adjustable and has arms to it and everything else, but they didn't want to pay for any of those. All you were allowed to get was the 4-inch riser. That's all that they would pay for years and years.
Okay. All right, we're going to go into the last segment. So I want to continue to talk that, like when you walk into Soper's, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
And then how about bringing out, if you wanted to make some modifications, I know a lot of people do it on their own, but we'll go there.
Yeah, and some sources for that. Good.
Yeah. And we're back to the senior moment. This is Connie Clark with Home Helpers, and I've got Dan Brownell here in the studio with me, and we're talking about assistive technology. And, there's so many neat devices out there, and every year as we come into the holidays, and now, Mother's Day's tomorrow, a lot of people always think, what am I going to get for mom or dad or whatever? But some of this stuff is so neat. You walk into Soper's and they've got the neatest contraptions in there. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. There is so much out there that you can do to a home or an office to make it accessible for someone. And I know a lot of people probably say, oh, well, I can do this. I'll put a bar here or, a ramp here myself. But that always isn't the right thing to do, because you may not put it in the right place. There may not be enough backing behind that bar. I mean, the weight of the person might pull it out of the wall. Or talk about that a little bit, because a lot of people try to do that on their own, and it really doesn't work.
Well, first off, I want to commend them for even trying, and that's neat. That is really, really neat that people want to try the new gadgets or devices. And when we talk about accessibility, by the way, it isn't just, we sometimes think about a person in a wheelchair getting through a door and the bars and that kind of thing, but it's far, far beyond that. It's everything from the mobility of moving ourselves to communications, our speech and hearing and sight and being able to grasp and hold something.
And arthritis would keep you from being able to do that.
Arthritis is the #1 disabler in our country. And so it's very, very multi-dimensional. So I just wanted to put that in there. So when you're talking about doing this, a thorough evaluation of that person is one of the biggest keys to really communicate with them and role play with them and know what their needs are and capabilities.
So you're not just putting a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, and you're not picking out a gadget. I get such a kick out of when we're working with our elderly parents or something, or somebody who's disabled, and we'll buy them a present, one of those grabber things that they can grab things
I got
up
one.
on a shelf. Okay. Well, and incidentally, there are hundreds of different designs to those now too. But if you have a person that doesn't have the strength
in the hands to do that.
Yeah, to hold it up, and then they go to grab something that is like hot or something like that with one of those devices, and it isn't set up for them, but they're kind of overconfident with it or something.
It's heavy. The item's heavy.
It's a poor application, so you have to really look at how they're using it, what they're using it for, the parameters of that use, and put that whole package together. But I commend the people that are looking for that, but you need a little bit more expertise in the actual application and prove it out. So first off, you want to get online and really study up on what the product might be. I have to put in a little kind of a thing about watch out for some of the products because, like for instance, some of the stuff on TV isn't necessarily the best product. You know, they show it looks
really
good, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a lot more better mobility devices or scooters and stuff like that than what you see on TV. Don't be misled by some of that. So really do your research on that. But also check into the experts in the area and ask other people who have this similar disability what they're using and what worked good. That's where the assistive tech project comes in good. You can say, well, what's the best hearing device, or what's the best device that you can use for communications, and what's out there.
That's like the Consumer Reports.
Exactly.
Aha.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a good tip first of all, and then look with the experts and what other people are using. I learn from every individual that I work with because they a lot of times have their own ideas or techniques, and some of this stuff doesn't have to be high tech either. It can be something that's real simple. Remember in the old days when to turn on and off a light switch, all you had to do was pull a cord, you know, and
Yes.
set up a cord by a bed, and you know you're set. You know, some of those types of things, but you don't need high tech, but thoroughly check it out. Where is the expertise for this? I can't say enough about some of our local stores that. Soper's Mobility is one of my favorites. Steve Soper and the staff and the people there.
They're fantastic
the
over there.
seating and mobility expert that's there, and they're just excellent people. And there's several places in Spokane, but go to them and ask a lot of questions. I know, Connie, you and I recently had a case where a family was bringing an elderly mother home.
From out of state.
From out of state. That was really interesting. I think they made contact with you first, and then within a week they had been into Soper's and contacted me, and it's been a real success story with the remodeling of their home to you know, a success of having mom in the home when they were actually looking at some kind of a nursing home and some tremendous expense. They were able to do that a much less, and they're all happy, and I live for those hugs once the cases are done. So it's kind of fun. But check out the experts. Of course, I enjoy people calling me. I can be contacted on my cell phone almost 24 hours a day.
You mind giving out that number?
No. 208 640-6807, and that's my personal cell phone number. And sometimes it's hard to get a hold of me, but just leave those messages or
you do respond
emails.
to those. I know you do.
I do. It takes me sometimes a little bit of time, and bear with me. But and then I have to say another thing, and that is about when you're doing the remodeling. Please don't trust these contractors to know how to do it. I love contractors. I've been a contractor myself and all that, but they think that they know how to do all the accessibility arena stuff. And sometimes I end up doing so much of their work over, or recommending that it be done over, because they didn't put the right pitch on a ramp, and they designed doors that were in inappropriate space, bathrooms that we have to end up tearing them all out because they just don't meet the requirements of a turning radius for a chair, and several other things. So you want to go to a real, I don't know if you want to say reputable, even the big guys. I've worked with some of the biggest home developers in the area, and it's interesting to know that some of their new designs that we've worked out include real open spaces, all 36-inch doors now, bigger bathrooms, much nicer designs than ever before. And I do commend them for doing that. But when you're taking an existing home and redoing it, there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, especially some of the older
preferences.
homes that we have here.
Absolutely. And you
Because
have to
the way
know-
they were built is so different.
very different. You have to be aware of of course, everything from the wiring to the bearing walls to the subflooring and so many different things to look at. And if you get in the middle of that and the person doesn't really know what they're doing, and you can run into a lot of extra costs, extra
Especially
costs
if you
out
have
there.
to redo something now that you've already paid to have done.
Yes.
You know.
There is a guy in the area that I just dearly enjoy what he does. His name's Jeff Andrews with Accessible Living Builders. Jeff is a guy that studied up and gone to school. He knows how to install everything from elevators to chair lifts to the lifting devices that you put in the ceilings to rolling showers. And he's kind of paid the price on education and getting all that done.
Mm-hmm.
And I highly recommend him because he works with me real good and communicates well. And not only that, but he's in and out of the home in a timely manner so it doesn't disturb the individual that needs the necessities of a toilet and so on. So
Yeah,
he
this
tries
is
to keep all that in mind and good communications with the individuals.
this is such a big issue because nowadays, especially, people want to stay home.
Yes.
And they're looking at the expense if they have to go to an independent living, assisted living, or skilled nursing. That is very expensive, and it's not just a month; it's for a period of time, and that's expensive. And then they look at what it's going to cost to modify the home, and that's an expense. But if you're talking about long-term, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, the expense of home modification may not be as great as if you had to move into a facility or something like that.
Well, just about every project that I've worked on and seen, it's more than paid for itself, just because of what you're saying. The average nursing home care facility is
$6,000-$7,000 a month,
Okay,
and assisted living is $4,000
there you go.
a month.
There you go.
And if you're talking a few years,
Yes,
that adds up
it really does.
versus the modification to the home. And you said it increases the value of the home
If it's
also.
done right, it really, really does. Especially anybody who has looked into remodeling a home, you know that naturally the things that add value to the homes the most are a bathroom remodel and a kitchen remodel. And those, if they're done right, can add tremendous value to the home and then keep the person in the home. And I really like to change environments so that people are just living more comfortably. And some of these environmental changes just adds for a nice environment for not only the individual but everybody that comes and visits them and the family. And I remember opening up a floor plan for a person that it was just only able to stay in their room, and then just opening that up with some French doors so that they could participate with the family and the other family activities. Just made it for a neat environment
Made
for everybody.
a tremendous difference in their life.
It did. And that person's actually rehabilitating a lot faster and better because of their increased mobility and environment.
Well, we've talked about a lot of different resources here locally, and I want to make sure everyone can get in contact with them. One of the places we talked to was the Assistive Technology Project, and you had given a website for that. Give that again.
That just Google it and go AT, the letters AT, and then the number 4, and then all, ALL, AT for all.
And you'll find information there, and that's the state of Idaho.
Yes, AT for all, Idaho. And
Okay.
it's just filled with information.
So they can go online and find that. They can also check out SOPRs or one of the other durable medical equipment supply companies.
Yes, Soper's is just north of our mall.
They're on Government.
Government Way. Just a couple blocks north of Government Way on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Visit Steve. He's a natural wheelchair user and was injured in an airplane accident, and he is just a wealth of knowledge.
And you can go in there and just ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
And then if someone wanted to get in contact with you,
that's 640-208, 640-6807. And that's my cell phone 24 hours a day.
And you can go
messages.
over into Spokane.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not limited to North Idaho.
No, I get over Spokane. I've even done projects in southern Idaho and Seattle.
Okay. So it's not limited to North Idaho. And there is just so much information out there, and there's so many things available. And there's really no excuse for you to be uncomfortable, for you to be not able to do the things you want to do in your own home.
That's true.
There's modifications out there. So check him out. Give Dan a call. He, like I said, he has just got so much information. I always learn so much from him. And do your investigative work before you do anything. And I love that the AT project, you can go in there and check out and see what the best type of devices are, what people say about them.
Yes.
Because you really don't know. And unless you're the person using it, you wouldn't know how it worked.
Correct.
Well, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon, Dan. You're just so much information. I'm going to have to bring you back because every time I talk to you, we learn more stuff.
Thank you, Connie. I learned from you, too.
I
You're
appreciate
a great
this.
home helper.
Thank you. And you all have a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you next week.